Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure you can guess what this is. If you can't, then I don't know why you're here. But yes, this is another game of Homeworld 1v1 on the map Subjugate Your Friends. This is another one that Lamadeus has sent me. This is the last one in this particular pack, but he has sent me a second pack, which hopefully will include some more decent games. And if it does, then I'll cast them this week at some point. Anyway, this is a map 1v1 on the Subjugate Your Friends map, which we've seen before and I've commented before, and I'm sure we can all guess roughly how it's going to play out. Our players today, down in this corner, this sort of brownish reddish Higaran, this is Doe, who I think we saw either last game or the game before, and his opponent today is the yellow Higaran. This is Syntax. Now at the moment both players are playing very standardly: scouts, light corvettes, support frigates, and over here scouts, light corvettes and support frigates. Same with the harvesting. We have 4 resource collectors and a controller for Doe, and Syntax has got exactly the same. Both players are sending out their research ships into the middle of the map just to provide some extra scouting and possibly do some kamikazing attacks if they're needed, but otherwise they're basically playing identical. In fact they are, yes, because both players are doing that. So it's just going to come down to positioning, tactics, control of the fighters, and who can keep their harvesters alive in the middle of the fight. Otherwise there's not a huge amount I can say. This fight, and both players are definitely going to sort of try to capture the sense of the map. That's what usually happens, and we can see them just positioning themselves ready for that. So hopefully the fights will kick off within a few minutes. At the moment, I mean, there's 7 light corvettes and 20 scouts over here. Fortunately I can't count these, but that's 8 light corvettes, but I can't select the scouts. And there's more corvettes slowly drifting in. We can see the first heavy corvette coming out for Syntax, and that's going to give him a small advantage, assuming of course that we don't have one already out, which we do for Doe. So they're both even going exactly the same technology paths, and so I expect to see multi-gun corvettes or mine-laying corvettes coming out next. Either would be pretty useful. Mine-laying corvettes do a lot of damage when and if they hit, but multi-gun corvettes, I just think they're a really good ship anyway. So at the moment both sides just sort of eyeing each other up, getting off a few hits here and there on these resource collectors. These collectors aren't in danger really of going down at the moment. This is too early in the game, and just a single heavy corvette out, that's not going to take too much damage. But this should mean that things start kicking off fairly soon. You see the support frigates in position. Syntax actually has 1 additional support frigate, which may help him out a bit. You can see there, that's just going to keep these alive slightly longer than his opponents, but his opponent's up to 12 light corvettes and 1 heavy, and he has 12 corvettes. So he's down 1 light corvette, but he's up 1 support frigate. Lots of kamikazing attacks kicking off over here. Doe still has almost 30 scouts though, so if those kamikaze attacks were meant to do much, they didn't quite. He seems to be still trying to hit over here, so that made no sense and did not add anything to the gameplay. Let's see if we can just get back into this. So 27 scouts, it's a fairly scary force, and so far this corvette group is building up. As you can see here, he's going after the harvesters now, and so Syntax is going to have to decide who to repair. He's actually getting off lots of kamikaze hits on these corvettes. Now, there were about 12 corvettes before, but you can see quite a few of them going down right now. A lot of them going down, in fact. It's a hideous amount just dying horrifically. It's down to about 5 corvettes there. This does mean that Syntax has a load of scouts out, You can see them all around here. But scouts they don't do that much damage, so I think at the moment Doe has the advantage because he's still got all his corvettes. But we see Syntax ramming and destroying the resource controller, and he's doing some final desperate kamikazing attacks against these corvettes here, but they don't get anywhere near as much done as Doe's attacks did. Syntax is down 6 corvettes versus 20, including multi-gun corvette. Although I think multi-gun corvettes are starting to come out for Syntax now. The problem is he's got to start trading. He has an advantage in his economy until Doe gets out another resource controller. But the problem is he's got to trade inefficiently. Simply because every ship he sends in is just going to be so badly outnumbered, it's not going to... If he sends in one corvette, it's going to die before it kills an enemy corvette. There's so many enemy corvettes. So he's sending these groups in tiny groups, and they're just being picked off before they do that much damage. You can see again, that's 3 corvettes down in a matter of seconds, and Doe has barely lost any corvettes. In fact, his reinforcements are coming in and keeping everything, well, keeping his force fairly large and scary. Especially with the support frigates nearby. Syntax, yes it is Syntax. Syntax probably should stop just throwing away these small, tiny, inefficient groups. But the problem is as soon as he does that though, then all these corvettes can swing in south, or down even, and hit the resourcing operation. But Syntax is not going to win if he just keeps on throwing away, 4 corvettes at a time. There's over 20 corvettes here for Doe, so Syntax just can't stand up to that sort of firepower. As we can see here, these are sort of the last large group of corvettes, and they're not going to survive much longer. Now what Syntax could do, of course, is Grapple Generator or Assault Frigates. Assault Frigates really good against corvettes. To be fair to Syntax, he has managed to do quite a bit of damage. He's knocked them down to 17 corvettes, but he's just throwing away ship after ship. He's not going to be able to maintain this rate. I think he's losing corvettes quicker than he can build them. Mine laying corvettes, of course, that's another thing that could be pretty good. It could help zone out something, or he could send them to his resourcing operation down here, and that will protect them. But otherwise, he's got to come up with something within the next few minutes to take out this group of 20. No, there's still 17 corvettes here. Of course, Doe lost his resource controller, so he's going to have slightly slower production. But I still think he's in a commanding position at the moment. Syntax could also go after these 2 support frigates, or he could ram them with his research ship, and that might just swing things slightly more into his favour. Doe is in fact going to ignore the enemy corvette and go straight for the resourcing operation. See additional ships coming in here. This is a scary amount of corvettes for any resourcing operation. This resource controller is not going to survive a huge amount of time, but that will give Syntax time to bring more forces together, take out a support frigate, build up his own corvette wall, which has got a nice little corvette wall forming up there. But either way, he's definitely going to lose these ships, and once that happens, it's going to start getting quite difficult for Syntax to stay in the game, especially if Doe turns around and kills these 2 off as well. So this force is pretty much all Syntax has left to win this fight with. The problem is it's nowhere near enough. And he's going to manage, I think, to escape with these 2 harvesters, and that's going to be quite useful. But otherwise, He's down to his last 2 corvettes, and I don't think he's going to be able to come back from this. But now, this is the final nail in the coffin of Syntax, as these resource controllers and these final corvettes get taken out. So I'd like to congratulate Doe and commiserate Syntax, and I'd like to thank you all for watching. If you've enjoyed this, please like, subscribe, etc. Hopefully I'll get more out in the next few weeks, next few days, and Syntax is there giving up as he loses his last resource controller. So thank you for watching, and goodbye.